Welcome back, folks, to a special edition of What's Wrong with Sports, College Athletes edition. With me tonight, James, the Value Man, Dotson, Alex, the Saint, Bill Haverson, of course, I am the mad scientist. We're going to be talking about what's wrong with sports, college athletes, and does this education really matter?
Lots of parity in the March Madness. I mean, if any team can lose any given day, there's no consistency whatsoever. Anybody can win.
And of course, the smaller metro schools are basically ruling the roost.
Better and better each time.
Yes, every year. There is something going on here with that. The smaller schools like Ball State and Creighton, James Madison, of course, started to become the powerhouses in March.
Oh, it's because all the bigger schools are getting players who are one and done, can't get chemistry or can't adapt to the game quickly enough, while these smaller schools like a Butler, Gonzaga, Creighton, they can develop some of the lower name players or some of the players who don't want to be one and done and want to build camaraderie with teammates for 4 years. They get those type of players, and they stay and they win big time. That's why we got Butler, who's made the Final Four 2 straight, or made the championship game in 2 straight years.
It's all coaching, man. I think, like Watson says, a good coach can get a underrated player and get the best out of him. That's what Stevens can do. Things like that. Like Jamie Dixon, he's a perfect example of that, but he can't develop like the great recruits, if that makes any sense. I think another thing it is, some of these players, I don't know if they should be ranked higher, but you're figuring out how to win with players with similar skill set. You can find talent in high school. A good coach is able to see if it's there, if that makes any sense. Maybe some of these recruiting rankings are skewed, but I don't know. That's just the way I feel.
Let's go back to this one-and-done thing, though, that you just mentioned here, Dodson. And let's go back to football, where you start losing a lot of really good talent from the collegiate ranks after a year or two playing. When they go to the pros, they're pedestrian at best. Perhaps, the NFL needs to take a lesson from the NCAA here, as far as or from the NBA. With these players, with these younger players, or the less developed players, let them stay in school. Let them develop themselves a little bit more. Let's not encourage these guys to get out there and to make the bucks. And I think it goes back to the abuse of the agents. The agents out there basically abusing this and making this a money grab more than looking out for the player and seeing maybe we can get more for this player once he gets out there and establishes himself in the collegiate level a little bit more.
You said it, Greg. It's all about the money. I posted an article about that earlier today about how exactly there is no sport left in sport. It's all about the money. And you know what? The NFL, I will give them credit. They try to. You have to be 3 years out of high school before you can go to the pros. So a lot of, at best, is that if you were redshirted and then played 2 years of college football, then you're able to go to the pros. Versus all you have to do in college is have 1 year of college eligibility taken away from you. So you had to have played for 1 year before you can enter the professional ranks. So I think, they're trying to. Can you push it back another year to make them wait until they've gone through 3 eligibility seasons? Maybe, I guess. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what more you can do, because you're right. A lot of guys fizzle out, but you got to look at it. Running backs especially, once you've hit 28, 29 years old as a running back, your NFL career is pretty much done. And so that's why a lot of those players want to leave early and be out of there by the time they're still 20 or 21, so that they can get some good years in the pros, or as many as they can before their shelf life is completely gone. So I don't know what else you could do, to be honest.
I think the emphasis right now is on the wrong thing, though, with collegiate players. Players who are really good at choosing not to stay in school. And, Chuck Bull had a question that he would basically ask all of his players when on his team. He said, "What are you going to do with the rest of your life?" Well, and people would ask, "What are you talking about?" Well, when you're done with football, what are you going to do next? And many of these people just looked at him like, "Huh? Football is my life." Yeah, football is a small portion of a football player's life. But when you got somebody with rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 33, can barely move their legs, and the guy can't string two sentences together because he never paid attention in school enough to be able to string two sentences together. That's where we're running into the problems, and that's where we're running into the dumbing down of the game, and that's where we're running into problems that we're running into today.
I think, I do think, though, if you ever turn down millions of dollars, if you know you're going to be a high draft pick, if you know you're going to get millions of dollars.
All about the money. It's all about the
You said it. You said it.
You're most likely never going to ever run into that kind of money.
Alex, I'm not saying this is a tough call. It really is. I mean, if I came up to you as an agent and said, "Alex, you leave school now, and I am going to give you $500,000 just to sign on with the team,"
I'm taking the money.
You're taking the money. It would be out of your mind. Yes, but is it the right thing to do?
This is my take on it. I think whenever you go into a pro sport or whenever you're going to come into that kind of money, you have to have a goal. You have to have a backup plan. Because you can come into that money, you could lose a lot of that money too. There's no guarantee you're going to have a long...
Thing to do? Is the money avenue the right avenue?
You can always go back. You could always go back to college.
Thank you, Alex. That's what I wanted to say. If you do, I know a lot of people will end up later on going back and finishing their degree to get that backup plan. Roethlisberger went back to Miami of Ohio to finish his classwork. Magic Johnson left 2 years early from Michigan State, ended up going back after his basketball career was over and worked diligently for 2 more years to get his degree to be able to do more outside of the sport that he loved. That's an option. But what bothers me about this whole thing is that it's not the guys who are in college leaving a year early. They are having a tough decision. It's the people who are in high school who know, I'm going to go here. I'm only going to go to that school for 2 years because I know I'm going to go pro. I'm going to be a first-round draft pick. I'm going to, kind of like that kid in the Cam Newton commercial. I'm going to make your mom my biggest fan and be the starting quarterback and all that, be the first-round draft pick. No. All you people who were out there, in front of all the cameras, putting on the hats today, saying how you're going to go to this school or that school, having the media circus around you, grow up quickly, please, and realize you probably are not going to go to the professional ranks. The odds are very much against you. Do not be counting your millions now and expecting to leave after 2 years. Get your education because you're going to need it whether you go pro or not.
This is how I feel about it. Like, yeah, it is a special moment, when you decide on the school and you have a pep rally. I'm not really against that as much as you're making a spectacle about it. You're going to bring a pet into the gymnasium. You're going to put on a team's hat and then stomp on it and then put another team's hat on. You're going to have multiple press conferences like Tyler Boyd did, the new pick commit. You're going to have a press conference 2 months before National Signing Day and tell everyone you're going to go to Pitt, and then you end up going to Alabama at the very last second. It's just too much. And then it's more the media than anything.
Alex, we're dealing with immature drama queens.
But it's ESPN, the news media.
It's ESPN and organizations like ESPN pander to this drama because it drives up the ratings, because when you have good Q ratings, you get paid more.
But these kids have to realize what happens if they don't pan out. I think most 4-stars and 5-star recruits don't make it to the NFL. They really, like Dawson said that. You're putting so much pressure on yourself. You're putting the media spotlight on you. And what happens if you want to either change schools or you don't even end up starting? It's just we're making such a big deal about where kids choose to go to school.
I'm going to tell you a true story here. And I'm not going to say the person's name because I work with the person's mother. But this boy plays football at a small Ohio school, and Ron Stoops, who is a coach for the YSU Penguins, has been salivating over this particular player. He's a defensive tackle. Fantastic, fantastic player. He could not make it into school because of his grade point average. Kid's a senior. He cannot play football. He wants to play football, but cannot because of his grades. Now, with that said, he's got some hard choices to make. This I found to be kind of ironic on National Letter of Intent Day when I heard the story from his mother. And I suggested that perhaps you sit down and have a personal conference with your son and with Mr. Stoops and see what can be done, and to see how much fight this dog really has if he really wants to go out there and achieve the dream that he wants to achieve. But this kid just thought that all he could do was go out there and be the best that he could for his team. And he's one of the best players on his team. And his team has won some championships. But he has become so deluded in his thinking that football is the only thing that matters. Academics doesn't mean a pitcher of warm spit. And he's painted himself into a corner.
Well, you guys ever hear the story about Kevin Harper? Or he was getting recruited and was telling everyone, well, I got offered all these Pac-12 schools. I'm going to Oregon. I might go to Nevada, or I might go USC here, there. And he was hyping himself up. And turns out as time went on, he didn't get any offers. But he was telling his coaches, his teammates, that coaches were asking him to come to the campuses and check it out. He ended up having a pep rally press conference at his school. And he decided between Cal and Oregon, and he put on the California hat and said that he was being recruited by the Bears, and the whole media was there, all local high school, everyone was there, all the media stations. Turned out he never got offered from California, and it's a shame. And this is what I'm trying to get at. It's becoming all about the show. He wanted the show. He wanted to choose the hat. He wanted that special moment.
What are these guys called? What do we call these college athletes? What do we call them? We call them student athletes. Guess what? They're not students. They are just athletes anymore. Look at Cardell Jones, who tweets, what do we come to school for? We didn't come to school to go to class. We came to play football. Way to go, student athlete. First of all, you didn't spell it in that tweet right either, but it's stuff like that that just kind of makes you scratch your head and say, hey, something here is wrong. We got to fix it.